Did you think DC's best anime was Suicide Squad Ice Guy? You were wrong, bro. So guys, how are you? I hope you are well. I am the Monio, the interdimensional demon, who talks the most about DC animations on YouTube, and you are on my channel. Let's get straight to the point. This is the best version of Supergirl outside of the comics, counting series, animations, and films. This is probably the best adaptation of the character in visual media, and yes, it's better than Supergirl from Tomorrowverse. But let's talk a little about the prominence and importance that Kara had at the end of the season, about this last episode, and about the season itself. As you may know, My Adventures with Superman is one of the best things being produced by DC at the moment, along with the Harley Quinn series. And before you come and correct me in the comments, I know that the animation is technically not an anime, as it was not produced by a Japanese studio, but aesthetically speaking, and narratively speaking, it is an anime in my opinion, and there are several references to anime in the series, like when Supergirl appears, and she is dressed like Android 18 from Dragon Ball, or even the cover of the comics that are being produced pays homage to Dragon Ball. But anime characteristics are also present in the narrative, the way obstacles are overcome with emotional outcomes, battles with powers and impacts, the way the villain imposes himself, the way the characters are developed, and go through emotional arcs with flashbacks that connect with the challenge he is facing at that moment. All of this is part of a language that is much more common in anime. And although these characteristics are quite present in the second season, especially in the last episode, these influences have been present since the beginning of the series, in which Clark has a Sailor Moon-style transformation, or when he uses his powers for the first time. And as an all-good fighting anime, we have a great villain from a galactic empire, Brainiac, and I have to say that I really like this version of Brainiac, in which he is an AI, although not all the time, since in the series it is shown that he can take on organic bodies, as we saw him control Superman's body. In the most recent versions of Brainiac, he is always represented as a techno-organic life form, and I always thought that this took away some of the sense of threat from the villain, who, as an AI, has practically unlimited intellect potential, and for his ability to transfer his consciousness to various bodies. So I really like this robotic version of Brainiac, which is probably inspired by his version in the old animated series, and in Justice League Unlimited, in which he appears as a kind of robot. And the interesting thing about Brainiac is that he is narratively linked to the characters, as in the last episode it is revealed that he was responsible for the destruction of Krypton, as Jor-El made peace agreements to end the war, but Brainiac, as it was a weapon of war, he did not want the war to end, and was responsible for the extinction of the race. And from this, we can conclude that all the villain's acts are guided by his programming to build what he considers the new Kryptonian Empire. I think it's really cool that the series gives a different origin to Superman and Kara, because the classic story, in which Krypton is destroyed by the sun, is already very well known and very cliché, and this, in addition to creating a unique lore for this series, further expands the possibilities of Krypton's past being further explored in future seasons. As we don't know much about the Krypton War and who the enemies the Kryptonians were facing were, many believe that this war was against the forces of Darkseid, as that the Omega being can be seen attacking Kryptonian soldiers in a flashback to the war. So it is very possible that in a third or fourth season, we will have more context of the war and what happened in it, and a possible introduction of Darkseid as the main villain. Remembering that this season we had the introduction of Lex Luthor as one of the antagonists, but he is still very early in his career, and the series doesn't focus so much on him yet. We will probably follow the process of him becoming the Lex we know, and we will still have the canon event that will leave him bald, but at the end of this last episode we had a scene that shows him founding LexCorp. As I said at the beginning of the video, I thought Kara's development was very good this season. Everything was very well worked on, the whole distorted father-daughter relationship she had with Brainiac, and the episode still makes a point of showing that she was kind of traumatized by the way Brainiac used to condition her to be obedient, and her entire character arc goes from her discovering that everything she believed was a lie, to the guilt she carries for being used as a machine of war. And all of this is enhanced in the scene in which she is once again being controlled, and Clark manages to make her free herself from Brainiac's control, which gives even more weight to the final clash when Brainiac is destroyed. The only thing that I think could have been better would be to have a final fight between her and Brainiac, with that kind of kryptonite sword. It could have been a long and exciting fight, even if the episode was a little longer, about 3 minutes more. The ending of both would be very cool, and made the ending even better in my opinion, but I still really liked the moment when Brainiac is destroyed. I really liked Superman's new uniform, with brighter colors and a slightly more Kryptonian design, and Kara's uniform also surprised me positively. She is quite stylish, and the detail of the cape that goes around her neck, it reminds me a lot of something that ninja characters usually wear around their necks, so it really is a really cool detail that gives this uniform in the series its own identity. Another thing that this season manages to work on and develop even further is Clark's relationship with Lois, and with Jimmy, as these are the characters that form the emotional bridge to everything that Superman loves and cares about, especially his beloved Lois, which is one of the best versions of the character. It can be said that their relationship is the guiding thread of the series. One of the problems I felt in the first season of the series was the very limited budget that the animation had, which meant that the action scenes didn't have the full potential they could have. But overall, this second season, and especially this last episode, were very well animated, with beautiful and fluid fights, and I hope this level is maintained in the third season. I really liked the second season. The first had already been good, but overall the second managed to be even better and is creating a very cool and very cohesive universe, including the participation of some characters already known in Superman lore, such as John Irons and Henry Henshaw, and if you don't know who he is, well, I guess you're better off not knowing. One thing that everyone should already know is that the third season has already been confirmed, and will probably maintain the quality level of the second, which is very good. Perhaps the only thing that I didn't like about this second season was Lex Luthor, and I understand the animation's proposal of wanting to show his transformation, but in my opinion, they could have already introduced the character as someone older and more experienced. I think that of all the young characters, Lex was the one who least suited this approach, and even though he was young, it's hard to imagine that he wasn't already intelligent to the point of being able to manipulate Amanda Waller. One thing I really don't understand is why Warner isn't promoting this animation better, since it's a series that is completely aligned with James Gunn's Superman film, in addition to having developed Supergirl very well, which also she's going to be an important character, and she's going to get a solo film right at the beginning of this new DCU. And as much as some people say that the animation is already successful, and in fact it is, this series is not gaining the attention it deserves. Just look at the engagement that other series like X-Men '97 had. And I'm not getting into merit of which series is better, but it is a fact that Disney promoted the X-Men series much more, which generated an absurd amount of engagement on social media, which does not happen with my adventures with Superman. I'm very excited for the third season, and I hope it comes soon, but what about you? Did you like the ending of my adventures with Superman? Leave it in the comments, and if you liked the video, subscribe to follow the next content. Until next time my people, demonic hugs.